can I say, I was so nervous for you, and because I don't have experience with shrooms.
Sure.
And you were always going to be doing more because it was my first time. So there's like a level of like we open this can of gummies and you can see like take this many for this experience, take this for this experience, take this for this.
Yeah, it was like
experience.
1 like light waves.
Yes.
3. What was 7 again?
I think it was 5.
That was a
wasn't it?
joke.
Oh,
it's a very private internal.
Oh. Anyways, but so
Sorry, guys, you'll never
sorry.
know. But it's great.
Anyways, so I think Douglas and I were doing the middle one to start with.
Yeah.
And
1.5.
you were gonna go to the
2.5. Yeah.
2.5, and so you did that, and pretty quickly Douglas and I were like, whoa, and like like we both of us.
That's what they said it sarcastically.
You could tell both of us were feeling it, right? And you weren't really feeling it, and then it was like okay, and I was really feeling it, and then pretty quickly, you were like, I'm gonna do more, and you like popped it in, and I was like, okay, wow, like maybe you should wait, and then what was happening is it felt like every 5 to 10 minutes you were popping another thing in your mouth, and then you were like, I'm gonna try these chocolates, and I was like, he was whipping out the chocolates, which were a full milligram, right? Milligram?
Gram.
A gram. Gram. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you were eating chocolates, and not just like your teeth were brown. You had chocolate in your beard. When you talked, chocolate was coming out of your mouth, and we
Right
were
over the jacuzzi. Just
we were like a little like, why don't you just wait? Like it's only been this, and you're like you kept being like, please don't. Like you kept doing this thing with your arms, where you were like very theatrical arms, being like, well, "This is what shrooms are. You don't judge the process." You were like, and we were like, "We're not judging it. We're just saying, slow down." And also, maybe other people
well, that's
there
the
was
moment.
a fear of there was a fear of like, are we gonna run out of shrooms?
It was very funny because I really like listen. I don't think I didn't even come close to coming to a place where I was scared, and so like they were like nervous for me, and I really was like. I wasn't fully keeping track of how much I was doing, but I knew I was not entering the danger zone. I recognized after having 2.5, like either whatever this is isn't as strong as I had thought, but I was fine.
Yes.
But there was that moment where I was like, guys, let me just do it. And someone was like, no, we're actually worried about there being no more for the rest of us.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I mean, you were popping them. You were popping them. And then you were like, we'll save this can. And like, cause the other can was almost gone. And we were like, oh, and ultimately it was all fine. But it was just funny because there was just an hour period where you were popping them so frequently. And you were eating so many wrappers of chocolates that it was like, what is this?
Look,
Like,
by the way,
also because you're like, with our lack of experience, we were like, could we cut to an hour from now? And you're just like on the floor, crying, rolling, and we're also like high, but we're not at a level to deal with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing of like being like, I don't know if I can get to that level, or I'm like want to get to that level.
Yeah.
That maybe could be coming for you.
Sure.
But it didn't. Everything was fine.
Tova's the one who shared the story that like she after the first like ate like a bar.
Yeah.
Hit like a bar, and she said she was crying and like reciting Hebrew tongues on the bed.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I think, and I told her, I was like, oh my, if I had been there, based on what she told me, I would have been calling the cops and been like, arrest this woman, take her away, please. Dear God, she's scaring the shit out of me. But yeah, it was like looking back, I wish I started even more.
Yeah.
But it was still good. Like sometimes you're like, what did you want it to be too much? You want it to be scary and bad and uncomfortable? No, it was good.
Yeah. I also, it felt like a really high weed high for me.
Yeah.
But I do think that sometimes some of those moments from that day where I was like nervous because I was laughing so hard that I might choke to death.
God, I forget.
There was one moment we were having like chips and cheese, and a moment that I remember. Again, also like here's the thing too. I tried to tell Nicole a story today.
Yeah.
And she's like, guess you had, like, it was that, when you see someone's face and they're like, yeah, I guess you had to be there for that one. Because you're like, when you're high and that's the magic thing of it. If you're all high and something happens and it's so dumb or something, and you laugh and everyone's laughing so crazily. And then you try to like tell it later and you're like, it's not funny. It's not
like sharing
funny.
a dream.
It's not going to sound funny right now. So I'm prefacing all that to say this is not going to sound funny.
So you guys, the rest of this episode
is not going to sound funny. But okay, so there were these little chips. And they were really good. I was eating a lot of them. There's these little tiny crispy chips. And having sometimes with cheese, sometimes not. Anyways, they had a specific kind of brown gray darkish texture.
Oh, God,
and so they fell. Two of them fell out of my hand onto the counter, and it was like I discovered water. I realized that the chips had the same color and almost pattern as the counter, and it was blowing my mind. They looked like they all of a sudden turned into camouflaging themselves on the counter. They looked the same. The coloring was the same. True.
Yeah, and then someone compared them to
someone was, I think someone started doing a bit about them being like not.
There's a famous, like, at least in science class, like one of the things is some of the people who discover evolution or how animals survive and die. It was about moths on a tree, and they realized that the moths that were darker survived because they blended with the tree.
Yeah.
And then when the trees changed colors, those moths died. And
or like a T-Rex, like if a T-Rex sees you, don't move. Because they can't see you.
Yeah.
And so that's
compared to them to animals camouflaging themselves, but it was the crackers.
And it was doing a character bit of like don't move and he won't notice you. He won't eat you. He won't. And so someone was doing that, and I could not stop laughing because it was so funny to me that these crackers looked the same as the counter. Again, it's hard to explain, but man, it brought me joy. It really brought me joy. There were some things.
Do you ever wonder with like non-comedians when they, not even non-comedians, but like we laugh so much.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all entertaining each other. We're all telling stories.
Yeah.
We know how to like heighten.
Do you remember another moment I loved is telling why you hated the movie Crazy Stupid Love?
Oh my God.
And putting all the pieces together that you'd never put together, but putting them together high was so funny.
You were the one who said it, right?
Yeah.
So I was saying someone said Crazy Stupid Love is such a great movie, and I was like, I never liked it.
Good rom-com, someone said.
Yeah, and I was like,
these are the kinds of things we did on our boys' weekend. Someone was like, Crazy Stupid Love, that's a great rom-com. And three of the four of us were like, yeah, it is. Yeah, man. And then Gianmarco was like, I don't think so.
I didn't really like it. And when did you see it? I remember I saw it. I was like, it was my birthday. And earlier that day, my dad had surprised me. His secretary called and said, your dad's coming up to Philly to surprise you on your birthday, which is like the last thing I wanted. And then we got a Philly cheesesteak, and we were outside, and my dad, after we ate it, he patted my tummy and he said, put on a couple pounds there, huh, son? And I like lost it. And I said to my dad, I said to my dad, I'm going to throw myself into the street and kill myself now. And they were like, how old? Someone asked me, how old were you? And I was like, well, I know for sure because it was my birthday. I was 21.
And then I was like, wait a minute. So on your 21st birthday, your dad surprised you. You had Philly cheesesteak. He called you fat. You threatened to kill yourself. And then you went and watched Crazy Stupid Love. Yeah, no wonder you fucking hate that movie, man. You had a terrible 21st birthday party. A world-class, awful 21st birthday party. You didn't have a party. You didn't go out. You were like, no. I'm gonna have some Philly cheesesteak. My dad's gonna call me fat. I'm gonna try to kill myself. And then we're gonna go watch Crazy Stupid Love.
And I was like, Crazy Stupid Love wasn't that good. Doesn't it make you feel fat and want to kill yourself? You're like, So it was just so much fun. But I always wonder, like with non-comedians, whether they're laughing as much, whether everyone's just having the same good time. It just feels like the four of us are attracted to comedy.
Yeah,
and so we like to like build, and we wrote a movie that will never get made.
Never get made.
We wrote a lot of things.
You wrote a lot more. I noticed that quickly early on.
I just took random notes. I was not sitting down like and.
No, but that's what you liked. It was like that's what you. Our high personalities are very different.
Yeah,
yours is very like. You like talking. You like like
I know I was
your
very
ideas.
talky, and I appreciate everyone.
No,
being nice.
no.
But I know about talkative.
I just meant like that. It's just an interesting thing that I didn't know that I would be so like. Times I was like, I'm like, am I tired? I'm not tired, but I'm not like. It was weird. It was like that kind of thing. We were just very different on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it's just that urge. I've always had that urge. I mean, this is why I do this profession. Is I think like I just go through times, especially with friends, and it's that feeling of like, oh, other people got to hear this. It's that urge of like, this is so fun, and some extra thing of like, other people need to feel this funny thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's just like, it's just part of my being.
Did you look at the notepad later and are there ideas that you're like?
There were some ideas. There was some stuff that was like that thing we were laughing about earlier. Like I marked it down, and it's like, well, there's nothing to do with this. This can never be spoken out loud again.
No. My thing that made me laugh with you all watching me at my funeral. I was like, I don't know what to do with that, but that made me laugh.
So we're releasing this sooner. We were just recording an episode with Ty Colgate. It'll be out.
So
later.
it'll be in there.
We might as well. You can say this now. This will be the patrons. Is that
I saw Gianmarco coming up with all these ideas, or like he liked doing, and he's writing things down, and he would do these bits, and we'd all be laughing, and he'd be like, oh yeah, maybe there's something there, and he'd write it down. And so I hadn't talked probably for a half an hour, and I was like, I was trying desperately to think of something funny, anything funny. And I was just kind of like staring at my three friends across the room. And I was like, funny. Okay, what's funny? And then all that was making me laugh. All of a sudden I had
we're like, Russ, what are you laughing at?
I had this image. I had the image of the three of them at my funeral weeping, crying so hard, and having the saddest, dumbest faces of just being so sad. And that was making me laugh so hard. And then I was like, let me tell them that. And then, but that's all I came up with. And that was the only comedic idea I had. Which isn't a comedic idea, but there was just something really funny about how serious.
We're looking like.
Oh, you were actively crying. Do you know what I mean? You
Sure,
were like,
as I would be.
and I saw like the three of you standing together, like kind of holding each other, like, and it was just for whatever reason.
Can you imagine we present that as a sketch? And
You were
it's just
devastated.
It's us crying over funeral. And that's the end. And that's the closing sketch. We always like to close with a Russell sketch. Enjoy it, folks.
And now what's funny is that when it happens, you will remember this, and you'll be like, there'll be at least a little warmth to it, you know?
Sure.
So
Sure.
there's that.
I'll start laughing, and I'll explain it to people. They're like, this is not.
You're like, no, you don't understand how much joy it brought him, how sad we are. But you have to be like actively crying. Like it has to like really like, you know.
I mean, the things we're gonna get Douglas on. We're gonna get Chris and Douglas. We decided we need to do an episode with four of us.
Yes.
I want to hear Douglas, who makes the music. I guess when he was in college, he made atheist rap.
Yes.
And I really want to hear that.
Oh my God. I didn't know that about him till that day.
Let's see what I did.
Oh, you moved him to
movies. By the way, just so if Douglas sees this, of course, anything that we all came up with, I mark it down. I don't go like, I'm going to go on stand up and go, here's my atheist rap. I mean, this is how you think that I was going to go on stage and I go, I know what you're thinking. And someone in the audience goes, no, you don't know what I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
I also, by the way, as I got high, I really leaned into my John Mulaney cadence. I really enjoyed it. I like this voice where you're like talking here.
Oh, yeah.
It's very fun to play with musically.
Yeah.
I've decided to steal it. A movie editor that's scared of what he edits, like a scary movie editor.
Yeah.
And as he makes his cut, he goes, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to cut 2 seconds off there. I mean, can we say the thing of we can talk about the funny
what thing? Oh, I don't know.
We don't have to make it to a person.
No, we don't have to. Okay, no, we don't. That was something that really made all of us laugh.
This is past. This is just for the Patreons at this
This is
point.
just for the Patreons.
Just for the patrons at this time.
And we don't have to say a name or anything.
Oh, not at all.
We don't know the person, actually.
We don't know the person. Let's just say in theory there was a guy.
Wait, but the way we're saying it right now makes it sound like it's one of the four of us, and it's really not one of the four of us.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Let's just say it's a guy who's not one of the four of us.
So it's a someone maybe one of us knows someone. you know?
Sure. And maybe not even that. Maybe this is all fantastic.
Maybe this is just a story we heard.
And let's say this person got...
But I think people probably are listening being like, one of the four of them did this. And I just want to be really clear that really that's
I don't think they would have been skeptical, but I think you've said it so many times now that they're absolutely going to think it's somebody.
Okay.
You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.